I'm not sure who said all dogs go to heaven, but I'm pretty sure Stephen King said, wait, hold my beer. It was possible that one of them might call him Bad Dog, and at this particular moment, he certainly considered himself to be a bad dog. There is no bad time for good news. Surely they had passed the worst. All the luck had been against them, but sooner or later, even the worst luck changes. It was amazing, wasn't it? How bad you could hurt when there was nothing physically wrong. We'll just have to get along. That's what people do, you know. They just get along and try to help each other. Alright, guys, welcome back. As you guys can probably already tell, this week's deep dive is going to be none other than Stephen King's seventh published novel, Cujo, published in 1981. Cujo is a book that is probably etched in everybody's mind, at least from my generation growing up. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't read the book, like everybody knows the reference Cujo. I mean, you just it's a lot like the other famous Steven Spielberg and Jaws. Everybody knows Jaws. It's a pop culture reference. Cujo is very much like that as well. Cujo is a huge pop culture reference. Everyone, you know, if there's a big, mean, scary dog, people would always refer to him as Cujo. But anyway, Stephen King's book Cujo is a good one. I mean, this is probably one of these true horror books. It's a lot like a Pet Cemetery, where something like this could actually really happen. I mean, what happens to the main characters, what they go through, it's pretty serious, and I mean, it really does strike the core. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the connections. So a lot of people like Cujo, a lot of people don't like Cujo. Also, there's going to be spoilers, of course. But Cujo was written when Stephen King was, I mean, he was high as a kite. Stephen King was doing lots and lots of drugs. I think there's even somewhere where he mentions that he doesn't even remember writing Cujo, that it was just like a hazy blur for him. And I totally believe that. But nonetheless, Cujo is good, and Cujo does have some memorable characters that we've seen in past Stephen King works and that are mentioned in later Stephen King works. Some of which being Sheriff Bannerman. Like I said, spoilers, guys. This is going to touch on some spoilers. So if you haven't read Cujo, if you haven't read some of the later or earlier books, maybe you want to click off. That's totally fine. But you have Sheriff Bannerman. Sheriff Bannerman, he's actually the sheriff of Castle Rock, which he's also in the Dead Zone, which you can go back and check out that video I did. He's one of the he's the sheriff, or he's the cop that helps Johnny solve the murders. You know, the serial killers. We all know it's Frank Dodd. Frank Dodd is also mentioned in Cujo. He is, I think he goes by the Monster of Castle Rock. They call him the Monster of Castle Rock. And Cujo is about a family. So it's really weird. It's like a two-story. You have the like emotional connections of what's going on with the family, like what they're going through. There's a lot of like drama, you know, between the husband and the wife. I believe it's Donna and Vic Trenton. They have a little boy named Tad. But long story short, skip. I mean, not saying that stuff's boring, but it's not really the meat of the story. Although a lot of people do like it, and it was very interesting to me. But a long story short, Tad and Donna go to get their vehicle repaired. They go to a mechanic whose name's Joe. I think Joe Camber. Anyway, Joe is the owner of Cujo. Cujo is this massive Saint Bernard. I mean, massive Saint Bernard. When I think Saint Bernard, and if you're around my age, you probably think Beethoven. You know, a lovable dog. Cujo is not Beethoven. Cujo is a very odd dog. They actually say that in the book. They remark on how strange of a dog he is. This is even after what happens to him. Anyway, Cujo chases a rabbit. He goes down into a hole. There happens to be a bat in there, and he gets bit, scratched, and he contracts rabies. And this causes him to essentially go crazy. Now, throughout the book, it's kind of inferred that maybe there might be some supernatural events taking place as well. I mean, some people like to speculate that Frank Dodd, which is also in the Dead Zone, that maybe he has something to do with Cujo. maybe his spirit is residing in Cujo. Some people believe maybe Frank Dodd is the boogeyman, which is living in Tad's closet, which that does get confirmed that there is some kind of monster or being in the closet. Some say it could be it. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, Stephen King doesn't give any hard evidence. There's really no like hard connects in that matter. Like, is it Pennywise? Is it Frank Dodd? I mean, the really only hard connects you got is Sheriff Bannerman, which he's mentioned in The Dead Zone as stated. He's also mentioned in The Body. He's like in The Body, which is a short story. I'll probably touch base on The Body and some novellas, but right now we're sticking to the novels. But he's in the novella The Body. He's actually he's like a young constable, so he's not yet like the sheriff of Castle Rock. But let's see, what else do we have? We have Frank Dodd, he's a serial killer. I think Cujo's also mentioned in Tommyknockers. Maybe it's like Gar, so somebody in the town, they make reference to Cujo, the crazy dog. I know in Pet Sematary, Judd actually brings up Cujo. He mentions that in the town over, a dog went crazy, and killed a bunch of people. But I guess, yeah. I mean, I would say it is connected to the Dark Tower series. I mean, it's connected to the Dead Zone. It has some ties to Tommyknockers. It has some ties to Pet Sematary. I mean, all in all, Cujo is a very good book. Do you need to read it if you're going to be reading the Dark Tower series? No, not really. But it does make things more intriguing. It does make things more interesting. I love any stories that connect or have run-off characters from other stories. And Sheriff Bannerman, I mean, spoilers, he meets his demise. Cujo actually takes care of him in this book. And in, I believe, is it the Tommyknockers, we're introduced to a new sheriff who's replacing Sheriff Bannerman, which is Sheriff Pangborn. So you just get more overlapping, and it really just does add more flavor to the stories. But overall, Cujo is a great book. There was a movie adaptation made, which the movie is very good as well. Unlike the book, which I'm not going to spoil the ending of the book. If you haven't read the book, read it, but it is a tearjerker, and oh man, it's got some Pet Sematary vibes for sure. But I mean, guys, if I missed anything, I'm sure I may have. I'm not too familiar with this book. I'm trying to remember the connections. But yeah, if I missed anything, you guys feel free to leave comments below. I mean, if you guys thought any other connections that I'm not thinking of, hey, leave them down there as well. But yeah, tell me what you think. Did you guys like Cujo? I know I liked it. I wouldn't put it in my top 10, but it's definitely a good Stephen King book. And I mean, I think it is something that if you're into Stephen King, you should definitely read. But yeah, guys, I think that's it. If you like the video, hey, smash that like button. Hey, if you like what I'm doing here, then subscribe. But otherwise, guys, peace.
I'm just good at caring too much.